Hello and welcome to the Even Stevens Ranked podcast, the podcast for all things Even Stevens. I'm Brittany Butler.
I'm Ethan Brim.
And today we are doing our second cast and crew interview, which is so exciting. This is going to be a fun one. We are here today with the legendary Coach Tugnut himself, Jim Wise. How are you?
That's right. I'm good. How are you? I'm honored. And I'm flattered.
We're honored.
Oh, man, we're so honored. This is insane.
Other way around.
That's hilarious. All right. Yeah, well, good to see you.
Good to see you. Wanted to kick things off just with some information about yourself. Like, I know you're a musician, an actor, a writer,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
So how did you get into the entertainment field? Just tell us the story.
I mean, it's such a long story at this point. But
The basic gist.
I was always, wanted to do it. And when I got out of school, I was a musical theater major for a little while at NYU. And then I skedaddled and screwed around at UC Berkeley for a few years. And then I joined the Groundlings School. And then I got into the Groundlings. And meanwhile, friends were becoming producers. And so I had some connections. And, just little by little, pretty much anything acting-wise and some voiceover, I suppose. I mean, not that they're completely different, but I could trace back to my time at the Groundlings. For those of you who aren't in Los Angeles, it's a comedy improv theater where, I was in there with Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry, and
Wow.
it's sort of a farm league for SNL. I mean, it has been for many years.
Yeah. And you wrote for SNL a couple episodes, right?
I wrote. I was when Will and Chris were, I guess, into their second season. Chris Kattan, and Sherry O'Terry was there, and Anna Gasteyer was there. So these are all Groundlings that I knew. I submitted myself to be on staff, and I didn't get that position, but I did get the guest writer position, and that I wrote on 2 episodes, and I got stuff in, and it was a very good experience. And then I came back and started getting acting work. But
Wow.
Now, that's
which
super
is what
cool.
I wanted to do. It was really fun.
Cool.
It was many years ago. It was over. Is now. I'm not even going to say. But you can figure it out. It was a long time ago.
So that actually kind of goes into this. So you said you knew some people in the industry. So as far as Even Stevens goes, how did you get involved with the show? Did you know someone on the crew? Did you audition?
No, well, both. But I got in for the audition because I knew Sean McNamara, who was the executive producer. Sean and I would. There are pictures somewhere. Sean and I knew each other in high school.
Really?
I'm a couple of years behind him, but we went to the same high school, and we remained friends, and we're still friends, and trying to get a movie made with him right now that I wrote. So
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
we're still in touch, and that was basically the biggest connection. And then I just had to pass the Disney Channel test, and I got it. And Coach Tugnut wasn't even he wasn't supposed to be on that much.
So he was already written? Was that already a role? Okay.
Yeah. There's a character, Coach Tugnut. Yeah. Matt Dearborn. Oh, and also, I had worked with Matt Dearborn on other shows. Alex Mack.
Okay, that's one I thought.
Alex Mack. And in fact, 3 episodes. I think 3 different episodes of Alex Mack where I was Chester the janitor, Chester the security guard, and some other incarnation of Chester.
I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, do you? Okay. Well, yeah. That's for you guys.
I know you were involved in the music side of things as far as writing some of the songs for the show. Was that kind of, they brought you on board to do that after you were already involved as Coach Tugnut, or?
Okay. Here you go. Another connection. Sean McNamara and the composer John Coda were old friends because they were in a band together in high school called Ocean. So
that's awesome.
Just
Sean
one
was
word, just Ocean.
Yeah. Well, we used to say Ocean.
That's
to sort of glorify him, deservedly. But they were in a band, and they were the cool band when I was in high school. and he hired John to be the composer. And so I was around all the time, and Coda's like, hey, I need a vocal. And then later in life, John Coda and I were in a band together.
Amazing.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was all, it was very,
That's cool. Yeah, I noticed. Other than I believe it was like a Bernadette Peters special.
That's
or something.
that's another Jim Wise. That's that's from what is it, Dames at Sea or something like that?
Yeah,
that's an
I
old.
I was like Bernadette Peters.
I wish.
The Jerk, I think.
I wish I wrote a song for Bernadette Peters. No, that's a different Jim Wise that got on my IMDb
okay, because it was
page.
on your IMDb. I was like, that's the most random thing.
Yeah,
ever. Okay.
I should probably try to get that taken off, but it's kind of funny anyway. But to just going back, I wrote the songs for Influenza, and John and John produced them basically. John Coda, the composer, like I did like a rinky dink, 4-track recording on one of those. Have you guys ever seen those like cassettes? It's like 2 cassettes in one machine. So that's what I had, and I made recordings on just guitar and vocal, and then I handed it off to Coda, and he was like, "Oh, it turned it into a sophisticated, legitimate song," and that was it. But all the other songs that I did like vocals on, like incidental music, those were all written by Coda and a guy named Richard Bowers. Was another guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for Influenza, you essentially wrote the whole episode though, because you wrote all the music, right? You wrote all the lyrics and everything.
Yes.
So did they give you a general idea and then you ran with it and fleshed it out?
Exactly. We had a meeting. Me and Mark Warren and Dennis Rinsler were the showrunners at that point. And by the way, they totally made Coach Tugnut a regular thing. Semi-regular, more so than it was, because I had my son was on his way.
Yeah, I noticed him in that one episode.
I don't have a kid in Even Stevens.
No, did you say I wrote to you one time on Twitter and I asked I sent you like a GIF and I was like, are you related to this person? And you said like, yeah, that's my son.
Oh, I was goofing.
Oh my God! I thought it was because this kid looks just like you, and I was like, you have to be related.
It was a kid on Even Stevens?
Yeah.
Oh no, Connor, my son is he's 16.
Oh, okay.
So he was what I was saying was my wife was pregnant with Connor, and I told Mark and Dennis, I'm like, I'm gonna have a kid, and they're like, all right, well, we'll keep you working, and they did, and it was a very cool thing that rarely happens in show business.
Now I know I can't tell sarcasm over a tweet.
I'm sorry, and that's my
Oh, that's amazing! I
fully
love that.
believed it was your son.
Sadly, that's my go-to. But anyway, so they gave me an outline of, we want this song here. It's going to be called. This is where Ren only knows that they went to the moon in 1969, and then I wrote the song based on that.
Was that your first? Had you done a lot of songwriting before that? I'm a songwriter myself, so I'm just.
Yeah, we're both musicians. I'm a musician as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I see, Brittany, you have some sort of guitar in the background there.
I got my piano. I got my guitar over here.
There's pictures of guitars. Is that what that is?
Oh yeah, it's like a little music art thing.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I had written. I've been writing songs forever. That was probably the best opportunity I had, like my earliest and best opportunity, because I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Oh, I used to write. I used to write songs in the Groundlings. Like I would do song improv, and I would write the big musical pieces in the live show. For a while, I wrote for a radio service that was just all parodies. I've got tons of songs that are, based on current events. It's actually an interesting time capsule because you listen to what was going on. Like you guys saw the movie or are aware of the movie I, Tonya?
I love I, Tonya.
Nancy Kerrigan and Tonya Harding. We were writing song parodies about that incident like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just so like it's not a an amazing credit, but yeah, I mean, I've been
That's cool.
writing songs for a long time.
Who were you into early on? Like, who were your favorite artists growing up? Besides Ocean.
Ocean, I'm telling you, man. Ocean was the big band at the dances. Growing up, the Beatles. In heavy rotation in my parents' house growing up, they used to play this album called The Best of the Association.
My dad has that album.
Yeah. How old's your dad?
64.
Okay.
Around.
Okay.
Yeah, 64.
All right. So he's that makes sense. It was hands down. That was very influential because there was like, I don't know, 13 guys and they all sang and they all did these amazing harmonies and it's super corny, but I guess I'm kind of a soft rock guy too. Like I like the Eagles. I like what they call the yacht rock now. Steely Dan was and musical theater stuff. Really,
that's cool.
I mean, if you look at that Influenza, that's pretty much a lot of musical theater stuff. Right
yeah,
there. Yeah.
No,
Anyway.
for sure. So just going back a little bit, Coach Tugnut, right? So this name already existed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So also this name is one of many little inappropriate jokes that was thrown into the show.
It's embarrassing. I mean, I looked at the script. I'm like, guys, come on.
So like, who was behind all of that? Was it just like a running joke between all the writers? Like, yeah, let's just throw this stuff in.
Yeah, they wrote what they could. There's Matt Dearborn, Tom Burkhart, Susie Freeman, Sarah Cunningham. They're all like, they're funny people, and we're writing on a kids show, but let's have some fun. And also, if a parent's watching it and if it's going over the kid's head, then that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Which it did a lot when I was a kid. That's why upon revisiting it as an adult.
But you revisited it and saw that. Yeah, I remember there was they call it Tom Grabowski.
Yep.
And then, which is, similar to Tugnut, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And then there was one episode where they went bird watching.
Yes.
I just remember a bird being called like, that's the hairy bald pecker or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Tom Virtue says something. He was like...
Tom Virtue.
There's another part in that episode where Ren's like, he happens to be the chairman of the Dick Sizzle or something. And then Nelson just starts dying laughing for whatever reason. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, they got away with a lot of stuff. The guys at Disney, and so which is also, up to the guys at Disney to whether or not to...
let it go.
Yeah. Standards and practices. But they did, so...
So speaking of that as well, Coach Tugnut's relationship with Donnie, what was that all about? Like, that seems like that's just a running thing throughout the whole series.
Yeah, it was. That was a funny, like, Coach Tugnut had a crush on Donnie.
Confirmed. Hashtag confirmed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it was the final rep party, they put together clips in slow motion of me looking adoringly at Nick. It was very funny. But that was an underlying theme.
Yep.
They did a lot of stuff. Like and I don't know if you remember Tugnut's wife Tammy.
Yep.
Was obviously cheating on him, and he was just like a dummy. And
she got that job done at the pizza place that closed 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah, that's right. You know the deal.
Yep.
That's when the TV, like I was driving that Pacer, and the TV set slides off. I mean, come on, that's good comedy, I think.
No, speaking of that, like, how would you describe the style of comedy in Even Stevens? Because I can't quite put my finger on it. I feel like it mixes a lot of different things. We always talk about how it was a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the style of humor is more relevant now.
Mm-hmm. Overall, we used to like to say, it's like Seinfeld for kids, but not quite.
Yeah.
It's pretty broad. I mean, at least what I was doing was pretty over the top. And yeah, they're constantly doing. I'd have to look at the show. I honestly haven't really watched for a while. I'm just trying to remember Because it's not on, as far as I know.
No,
Otherwise, I'd be
we
watching
have
all the
it.
time.
But,
It's hard to find now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just something I've never really been able to like name. Like I can't
describe. Well,
like, is there any other comparisons maybe? Because I mean, we've mentioned, we can see some similarities to like Malcolm in the Middle and like even
Sure.
a little bit of like The Office and Modern Family. There's like a little bit of like that dry stuff, but then
mixed in with broad.
yeah.
There's a lot of joke within the joke type of stuff.
Yeah.
too.
Well, I think it's obviously the basic premise is grounded in reality. It's a family, and the school, but the stuff is it's just over the top. At least what they had me doing.
Yeah. Because some of our favorite parts are like the more subtle stuff that, again, you don't really notice when you're a kid. Upon revisiting it, there's tons of stuff that you can easily miss.
Yes, that's true. That's true. There are a lot of underplayed moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
The one thing, I didn't get to work that much with Tom Virtue because we're both adults.
Yeah.
And usually the show, for whatever reason, I can't remember what it was, but scheduling, they didn't have us in much. But when we did work together, it was so fun. It was like, oh yeah, there's another adult on this show that I can hang out with.
Yeah, Tom seems crazy. He always
He's
gave
great.
like 120% to the most basic scenes.
Yeah.
Just screaming, just going for
Tom's
it.
solid and a real nice person too. He's in Green Book. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, I was
Green
just
Book.
gonna say. Yeah, I saw him. I was like, no way, Tom Virtue's in this. That was
Yeah.
He's in so many things, though. He's on, he's in stock photos at dentist offices, apparently. I mean, he's everywhere.
What?
Is that true?
Yeah, like I saw people on
I mean,
Twitter. They were like, why is the dad
That's
from
great.
Even Stevens on this pamphlet at my dentist office? Like, and they just post a picture. I'm like, yeah, there he is. He was also
That's
on
great.
an episode of To Tell the Truth or something recently.
Mm.
Is that the name of the show? Where like he got up there and said that he was the creator of some invention, and everyone's like, how does no one see that he's the dad from Even Stevens? He's clearly lying.
That's interesting. I don't think of myself as being famous or anything like that, but I see those, because we all see what shows are being done and who they're looking for, and like, to tell the truth, that format, it seems like that wouldn't be right for somebody like Tom.
Yeah.
Because he's more high profile, but
He's pretty recognizable.
Yeah, very
Yeah, I think so.
recognizable.
yeah.
How often do you get recognized as like Coach Tugnut?
Not as much as I mean, God, for a while it was like, because it was when it was on, because kids are like sponges and they recognize. I'm trying to think the last time I was recognized as Coach Tugnut. Oh, I was last year. I was walking through a parking lot and a homeless guy came up and asked for money, and I'm like, I don't
Where
have
is
any
this
money.
going?
Well, and then, so then this homeless guy leaves, and then this other guy goes, "Excuse me, sir." And I was like, "Dude, I don't have any money to give you." And he goes, "No. Are you Coach Tugnut?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I am. I mean, I was." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm an actor, and you're one of the reasons I came out here to Los Angeles." I'm like,
Wow.
Wow.
That's a pretty bold.
That's
Yeah.
Pretty
cool.
bold move based on what I did. But within the last decade, I was writing and producing for Leno when he was doing The Tonight Show. And we did a piece down in Panama Beach, Florida, for spring break. And I think we're on the final day, and there's all these college kids, and somebody goes, "Hey, man, are you Coach Tugnut?" And it's a beach full of kids. College kids. And I said, yeah, good for you. Good eye. And it was like I got followed around for the rest of the day, and I would say borderline hassled about being Coach Tugnut.
Wow.
But it doesn't happen that much anymore.
Going back to the kind of behind the scenes stuff, I guess. Were you involved at all in like the writing of any of the episodes? Like, were you in the writers' room at all for stuff? Or?
No, only the Influenza.
Wow.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, Even Stevens played a big part in both of our lives. Mm-hmm. What were some things, like, early on in your life, as far as entertainment, like movies or TV shows, that you were really drawn to that maybe influenced you to become an actor?
Well, I mean, early on, the Carol Burnett show was huge. The Brady Bunch was huge.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like many generations are raised on the Brady Bunch. I was raised on the Brady Bunch through my mom.
Yeah. The Brady Bunch was huge. And then when I was, again, working at Leno, I got a chance to work with Florence Henderson, which was a trip. Cool. Yeah, and she was great. Steve Martin was a huge influence. Like, that was my first concert. My parents took my brother and me to see Steve Martin in concert, and
that's cool.
The Blues Brothers opened for him, which was their first tour. So this is a while ago. Yeah, Steve Martin was like, I listened to that inside and out. The Let's Get Small. Prior to that, George Carlin. I was more into the stand-up comedians than anything else, really. I guess Carol Burnett was mostly sketch, but anyway.
And you have a picture with her. That's your profile picture on Twitter right now, is it?
Yeah, it is. I worked on a Netflix show called A Little Help with Carol Burnett last.
I saw that
2 summers ago.
Yeah.
Yep. That she is. She's as sweet as can be.
Yeah.
Nice lady. Yeah.
Oh, just quickly going back to the Donnie thing. Do you remember the episode where you sing this total My Way parody? That's like hats off to Donnie or something.
To sweat or not to sweat.
Yep.
So many times I can't forget.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. That was, yeah, I do remember that. I think that's the pommel horse. I think that is called
tight end traction.
Tight end traction.
Yeah.
Interaction.
Yep.
There you go again. Yeah, that was when Lewis rigs the pommel horse to toss Donnie and he gets injured. Yeah. I do remember that.
You wrote that song? Did you write that?
I did not write that. I did not write that one. That was
wow.
that was Richard Bowers.
Okay.
I believe. I you know what? I don't know who wrote the lyrics, but Richard Bowers did the music because I recorded the track at his house, as I recall.
Yeah, the thing with you and Donnie, it's funny because it's like we've talked about before. It's pretty much like the only joke that runs from beginning of the series to the end of the series.
Yeah, like the final shot is me pining for Donnie.
DC.
And and if the original and I was watching the original pilot, like the when they did the pilot and inserted it into the later episode. The first shot of what would have been the original pilot, the first thing we see is you. And then the last thing we see is you at the very end of the episode of the series finale. So the show literally begins and ends with Coach Tugnut. It's just hilarious.
Wait, how does the original pilot start? Is that like somebody's up on the flagpole?
You say Donnie Stevens was something.
Yeah.
It's
like it's the repurposed
you're talking
footage.
To Lewis's class.
In the gymnasium.
The repurposed footage.
Yeah. Is that the first thing? So it's like they're on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, they're on the Ferris wheel.
And then he's like, "Oh, you guys have made my life a nightmare since day one." And then it cuts to the first flashback, and it's Coach Tugnut. Yep.
It's Coach Tugnut.
That's funny.
I was just hilarious because if that was the original pilot, then it would have been Tugnut and then Tugnut bookended.
Yeah, that's right. As well it should
be. That's great. Yeah, of course.
And that question about the tight end traction was asked by Kristen Craig via email. Okay. She also wanted to know if it was difficult to keep a straight face a lot, if there are a lot of bloopers, like how was the vibe on set as far as that goes?
I think, there weren't a lot of I don't remember screwing up that much. Or I think we were moving so quickly,
It seems very organic, like it was right place, right time sort of show.
Not a whole lot of bloopers that I remember. I mean, the funniest thing, again, was that they put together that
montage.
Yeah, in slow motion. I can't remember what music it was. It might have been that, to sweat or not to sweat.
Was there a lot of improvisation that was going on?
No. I mean, I would always do. I mean, personally, I would do what was scripted, and then I'd go beyond. Yeah. And if they didn't want me to do that, they would cut it.
Matt Dearborn sort of mentioned that, people sort of bring their own approach to the material, which might make it seem or feel as if it was ad-libbed, but it's really just sort of you bringing your own style to everything.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the dance moves. Oh my gosh, that was
the dance.
That move where you did your hands like over your head. I've used that so many times. It's not even foul.
Maybe I should be getting royalties.
Anytime anyone dances in real life, you will magically get a check.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Like I said in my email.
Yeah.
That I was dancing so hard, take after take. It was exhausting. I almost got sick.
Oh wow.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It all worked out.
So we got a few questions, like a little section that I have here just called favorites. So your favorite blank. So someone here whose handle on Instagram @EvenStevens4Life, whose name is Shayna. She wants to know your favorite episode, if any.
My favorite episode. I got to give it. I liked Influenza. I thought it was the most fun for me. To just from top to bottom, because I wasn't involved in the production of anything aside from that. Like we had, like I said, I wrote the songs, gave little sketches of them to John Coda. He created these tracks. We had 2 days where we had the cast in the booth at some studio, and so I was sort of in charge of that as well, and also singing backing tracks.
And you also Nelson's voice, right?
I was Nelson's voice, yeah.
Which you did such a good job, because until I found that out recently, I totally thought that was his voice. Like, genuinely. Like, it always seemed a little off, but I was like, no, maybe that could be his voice.
Yeah, I can't remember if he was like, it was like, oh, this guy can't sing at all, or I think, he was also probably going through puberty at the time, so it was just kind of a difficult thing. So, yeah, I did Nelson's voice. And I did, backups on morning announcement song, and it was just fun. I like doing the music stuff, obviously.
So did you write like Sacramento Girl and stuff like that too? Was that you?
No.
Okay.
No. What episode was that in?
It's like one of the main Twitty Stevens Connection, Alan Twitty Project songs.
Yeah. No. You know what? I didn't write it, and it's feasible that AJ wrote it. Because
yeah, that's true.
Oh, he did write he co-wrote Dawn Patrol.
Yeah.
In Surf's Up. I know that. So, yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense then.
But that girl, Shayna, she also wanted me to just tell you that she's a huge Even Stevens fan and that you were one of her favorite characters on the show. And even now, as a 31-year-old adult, she still laughs out loud at your character. So.
Well, that's nice. Yeah. Thank you, Shayna. If you're listening, I guess. That's right.
Oh, she's listening.
So next favorite, a favorite Tugnut moment or quote?
Just thinking back to I guess it was, again, Tight End and Traction, was me telling Lewis about the first time I saw Donnie. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if it was scripted or I added it, but I referred to him as I saw a raven-haired lad.
Yeah.
And just the term raven-haired, it just seems so ludicrous. And I can't remember if it was in the script. That kind of jumps out to me. But
There's also in that same scene, you said, I saw him, playing on the whatever at Brookwell Elementary.
Yes.
Which I was like, that must have been Brookwell McNamara. Did they throw that in there? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was a little inside joke. I liked I liked the band on the roof where they I'm like making sausages on the roof.
Yep.
That was amazing.
That was a funny thing.
You think this chiseled body would be eating fatty sausages?
Yeah, the writers, they cut away. They were supposed to cut away to this scene of me sitting on a bench, like bench press, and sitting on the bench, and there was a line, and I guess they cut it for time, but I was sitting on the bench, and I say to camera, it's like the confessional type thing of the episode, and I say, because of the way I look, my physique, people are always asking me how much I bench. Well, this right here, this is 250 pounds. And then I go back, and then it collapses on my chest. And they didn't have it in there. And I remember that. Wonderful. I remember shooting it and wearing a tank top, and I'm super hairy. You can't tell because I'm wearing a shirt, but like my shoulders are hairy. And the kids, like Margot and Shia, were making fun of how hairy I was. Like, they'd walk by me and pretend they got poked in the eye by my shoulder hair. That's
that's good.
It's pretty much just like the show. I was disrespected.
Oh man!
Anyway.
See, that's funny though. Like, that's why I had mentioned to you in the email, Band on the Roof is my favorite episode.
That song, they said to me, we want a song where it's Ren and Lewis singing, and it's like a call and response. So she sings the first line, he sings the second line. I'm like, okay, and then he'll sing just his parts, like at the end. So anyway, so that was their idea. But
Does the full version of that song exist? Because there's a bridge. There's definitely a bridge, but it cuts away to Wexler yelling. Like, all you can hear is, my schoolwork resembles a mountain, or something.
My pants got wet by the water fountain.
That's cool.
Wait, what was that line?
My schoolwork resembles a mountain. She sings, my schoolwork resembles a mountain. And then he sings, my pants got wet by the water fountain. And then something about her locker. And then he sings, I got kicked really hard playing soccer. Like his voice cracks
amazing.
As if to imply. Yeah, I'm sure that's somewhere. I'm at least like a horrible demo that I have somewhere of me doing everything.
Wonderful.
That would
Amazing.
be gold. That's amazing.
Yeah, because that was another one here. So, like, your favorite song you wrote for the show, and any full versions that exist of the ones that made the cut, the ones that made the cut.
I liked that one a lot. I liked Sixth Period.
Of course.
Yes, that's a really good one.
A fun one to write. I got mad. I got in trouble. Not trouble, but I got corrected because there's a part in the song where Lewis sings in the way it aired. I think I ate bad shrimp. Stevens, don't be a wimp.
Yep.
Try to be a man instead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but originally I wrote, Lewis says, I think that I might hurl. And Tugnut says, Stevens, don't be a girl.
Yeah, I figured. As soon as you said hurl, I'm like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it.
And Susie and Sarah called me out on the carpet, and they said, you can't, we're not, you can't say that because
that's so good though, because again, like, with the show being ahead of its time, like a lot of things, the show has aged so well. Yeah. Like, for the most part, like aside from the fashion and stuff, like, it's really nothing is that dated. All of the pop culture references that it made are all still relevant. They're just like timeless references. Unlike a lot of other shows of the time that made, extremely dated, like early 2000 pop star references, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But, the show didn't really do that, which is, like, amazing. And just that small little change that they made right there with that lyric helped it out in the long run.
But they were, they were smart about it. And I was like, what? I guess that is a put down to women. I became woke that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
guys. Man.
Real quick, the song I Always Find a Way, which we both kind of, and Brittany kind of said this, it's kind of that the little melody is kind of Lewis's motif.
It's like the doon 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 doon.
Oh, Wow.
I don't know. I was just kind of. I mean, I know you said John Coda had to do with the production stuff, but I was just wondering if I didn't know if you consciously kind of worked in that little motif he had into the song, or if that just was a production thing.
I that was probably a John thing.
Okay.
Because it was always interesting to me that Lewis's song is the only song in all of Influenza that doesn't really stray far from the identity of the show and the show's score, like for the most part.
Wow, yeah.
Because that intro motif and everything, it's in the series a few other times. Like
that would definitely be a John Coda thing, because the version I gave him was not as advanced. You know?
Do you remember if that song was that one inspired by anything? There's a reason I'm asking.
Well, the it wasn't inspired by it, but I could not get away from, because I think that was their Mark and Dennis and the Room's hook was "I'll always find a way." I always find a way, and for whatever reason, that song laid out in my mind musically like "The Boys Are Back in Town."
Okay.
Whoever did it, in the 90s.
I couldn't find it. Okay, so I heard that song somewhere, and I was like, whoa, that sounds just like...
the boys are back in town.
No, who was it? I don't know.
I can't remember who recorded it, but it was like... It was, I want to say, like... the same guys that did "Who Let the Dogs Out," almost.
the Baha Men?
Baha Men.
Yeah, but
That'd be amazing,
right? But they used to use, at that time, they used that song in a Bud Light commercial.
Okay.
Where it was it's so dumb that we're talking about this, but the in this commercial, and I knew a couple of the actors in it. It was like girls get in for free, and so these guys, the premise is these guys would dress up as women and come in, even though they had mustaches and stuff, and that was the premise. They got in for free, and they're serving Bud Light, and these were the Bud Light guys. And I'm pretty sure that they used that song in those ads. Wow. And maybe that's why I couldn't escape it.
That vaguely sounds familiar, the commercial, now that you say it.
Yeah, you were a child. So
yeah, I was born in '89, but I remember a lot of the '90s.
I mean, I was born in '93, and I still remember a lot of the '90s.
Yeah. I was born in '64, and I don't remember any of the '90s.
Oh, that's the way it goes.
Any of these questions you're telling me right now.
The next favorite, Tyler on Instagram, he wants to know your favorite memory of working with Shia, and any stories.
You know what? First of all, I met this kid when he's 11 years old. Mm-hmm. You know, a little kid. You know, he was like, "Oh my God, you're in the Groundlings. You're I watch that show all the time. Oh my God, that's amazing." And his voice hadn't changed, and he was just this little squirt, and he was really, he was psyched to be there, and he was a good student as far as knowing his lines and all that stuff. And so that was fun. And then when I remember specifically at the table read for Influenza, we got through it, and then he was a little bit older now, and maybe turning it. I mean, he was a teenager, so he was, had a different attitude in general, and so what his opinion was important to everybody. And we finished the reading, and everybody was kind of looking to see, does he like this idea of a musical? And he just goes, "I think this is dope." And he got up and left. He loved it. He and AJ used to play during breaks. In one of the rooms, they had drums and guitar and bass set up, and every once in a while, I'd join them and play the bass.
That's cool.
And I remember saying, "Hey, I'll totally play with you guys if you guys want to,
start another band.
if you don't mind this old guy playing with you." I think Shia said, we can't have you play with us. You're Jim Wise." I'm not sure what that meant, but I guess it was flattering.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
wonderful.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And then the next time I saw Shia as an adult, when after his whole, he had a broken arm and was in trouble. I was working at Mad TV, and we were doing a red carpet event at Eagle Eye.
Yep.
Is that the name of the movie he was in?
Yeah.
Eagle Eye?
I love Eagle Eye.
And, I saw his dad, who was always around on the set, and I was talking to him. And then Shia came up, and I said, so what's been going on since I last saw you? What's new? He's like, had this huge career and was in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
He blew up in a big way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Big
we're
Shia
big Shia
fans.
fans.
Yeah.
Like at one point, he was doing that art installation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Where you could sit across from him or something.
Yes.
Yeah, is that the bag over his head one?
I don't know if he had the bag over his head or if you could just sit in the room with him and people were lining up.
That was the hashtag I am sorry, I think.
Yeah.
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 I felt like, God, what would that be like if I went in there? Like, how would that go? Would that be nice? And then there was the other thing where he was watching clips in a movie theater of even Stevens.
Yeah.
I woke up early because it was like Eastern time or whatever, and I'm in LA. So I woke up early and I timed everything perfectly and watched it live, my version of the Even Stevens movie while he was watching it. So cool, like seeing his reaction to this, what I was watching. It was really cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I was so mad because as soon as, Shia is such a meme these days, and so it was like people took the footage of his reaction and just synced it up to random things to be like, Shia LaBeouf reacts to this Batman trailer or like whatever.
Right.
And, you couldn't find the real reaction anywhere. So I was like, you know what? You got to do it yourself. So I found...
You synced it up?
I synced it up and put it on YouTube, and it has almost like 1 million views. So anyone who's listening to this and has seen that video, that's me. I'm the one that took the time to do that.
Wow. That's something.
But yeah.
Did he like the spaghetti exploding?
Oh, he loved the whole thing. He was dying.
The stuff with beans, he was like dying. That was, I think, what he was laughing the most at was the stuff with beans.
And the stuff, funny. And the cheesy romance stuff with Ren and Mutai.
Oh yeah,
that was killing him. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, we're both
funny.
really big Shia. I named my son Lewis after Lewis Stevens, actually.
Yeah, we're crazy.
Yeah.
We're crazy.
You guys are
he's
big
10
fans.
months old now, so.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
That's boys. That gonna be. You're gonna have some fun, man.
Oh yeah, it's a blast.
It's gonna be 10 months old. You're getting some sleep. But then they start walking, and oh my God! I had this conversation with my son last night. He was screwing around, doing like some 1920s dance or something like that in the kitchen, and I'm like, "Hey, man!" And he's 16. I'm like, "Hey, man, there's a lot of sharp edges in here." And he says, "Well, why don't you put those rubber things that you put on every corner, which when you baby-proof your house, you got to put all these things out there." So anyway,
funny.
Don't forget to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
has your son seen Even Stevens at all?
I guess so. I think so. Maybe the movie.
Okay.
Maybe the movie. My, as far as on camera stuff, I don't audition for anything anymore, but like I'll be writing on a show and they'll say, "Hey, can you be this guy?" And I'm sure, so I'll do that. And friends will call and say, "Hey, we got, do you want to do this bit?" And I'll do that. But I haven't auditioned for anything for like 10 years.
Oh. Really?
Which is fine. I mean, I don't miss auditioning that much. It's just a different thing. Some people are great at it. Some people love doing it. Mm-hmm. I much prefer to have a job offered to me.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody's like that, though.
Yeah.
So the last favorites question here is from ZR Cease on Instagram. He also said that you were his favorite character on the show and that you absolutely rocked the role, knocked it out of the park. And he just wanted to know who were your favorite actors or actresses to work with and be around on set.
Oh, on that show? Mm-hmm. I liked everybody. I liked I like that whole cast, actually.
Yeah.
It's really a nice group of people. God, I'm trying to think of, I can't really pick a favorite of that cast.
No, I figured probably. But.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one.
Do you still talk? Besides, I know you talk to Sean McNamara, but do you talk to any of the cast?
No, I talked to Sean. I talked to Dearborn. I run into Tom Burkhart was a writer producer. I run into him a lot. We live in the same neighborhood. I haven't seen AJ was working with Sean for a while. I think he might still be as a producer. So I have this movie idea that not even it's a script. It's not even an idea that I've been trying to get going with Sean, and AJ's kind of in the mix over there. I'm not sure if he is currently, but that was his thing for a while. They have reunions, you know. And I'll see George Bell, the Wexler, and but I haven't seen aside from Facebook, you know, Christy or what's her face? That's an awful thing to say. Margot.
Oh, Margot.
She was great.
Yeah.
She
I love Margot.
She was a sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, the whole cast. We talk about this before. We talk about it all the time. The acting was so great on the show. From the kids, from everyone. It was just, I don't know. It's just super special.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a good cast.
So speaking of the memory sort of thing, did you keep anything from the set at all? That was asked by Grace on Instagram. She wants to know if you kept anything like a whistle or anything like that.
No whistles, but I do have. Stupidly donated one of Tugnut's jackets.
Oh no!
Like Lawrence Junior High, to an auction. I thought, I can give you this, and they're like, oh, that's great, and I don't know what they got, but. I have a sweatshirt, and I have one of those stupid shirts that his Tugnut's casual wear, and I have that orange Kangol hat.
Oh wow!
That I wore occasionally.
Yeah, that was in the finale too. Yeah.
Yeah. You get to match the horrible car I drove, the Pacer.
Oh man! So. Speaking of, having reunions and stuff, I know people have asked Kirsty all the time, her thoughts on a reboot. We asked Dearborn his thoughts on a reboot. We're going to ask you.
Is it a real thing? Is it a possibility? Sure, it's a possibility. I mean, it would hinge on Shia's willingness to do it. Yeah. He's got everybody clawing at him for other stuff. In fact, at one point I was like, well, maybe this, I have an idea. Maybe this could actually be pretty good for Shia. And then I ran it by Dearborn, and he said, then you're just like everybody else, because he is in demand. And, they always did stuff. There was one episode where I can't remember why, but they were showing 20 years in the future, at a high school reunion.
We love that episode.
And Tugnut weighed 300 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I came out on a rascal scooter.
Yep.
And that was that. I mean, look, I'd be willing to put on weight if they want to do it that way. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how interested the younger guys would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd do it. In a heartbeat. It was fun. There was supposed to be, that last summer, there was supposed to be a reunion where Shia was going to be in town, and the word was, Shia's going to be in town, and he wants to see everybody, and this is going to happen, and maybe they had it without me, but I never heard anything about it beyond, running into Tom Burkhart. But,
I mean,
and plus, and those guys are busy too. They've got another show that they're doing
Fastlane.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is premiering tonight, actually.
Oh,
okay.
As we record this, it's premiering
I did not know
tonight.
that.
Better slap this podcast together very quickly.
No, yeah, but we figured might as well ask you. It's interesting to hear other people's thoughts on that because we have our thoughts on like, where the characters might be today or whatever.
Right.
And,
Right.
just,
I think that wasn't it. Weren't they like, I can't remember. I just remember Lewis having a very immature email address.
Oh,
it was
Commander Poopy Pants at laughsat.net with a K,
Yeah,
Commander with a K.
That's right.
I sometimes call my son that when he poops his diaper.
Commander Poopy Pants.
Yeah, Commander
That's
Poopy
good.
Pants.
Keep it alive.
Yeah.
That's funny.
There's just a few little wrap-up questions, actually, so we're kind of right on time.
Okay. Cool.
So just sort of in general, best part of working on the show, what would you say? Just everything?
I think the best part of working on the show was just the good vibe. It was a good vibe,
Mm-hmm.
And I attribute that to Sean a lot. He's a very positive person. He's, I don't know if you haven't spoken to him yet, right? Have you?
No,
has he
but
been on the
we
podcast?
definitely want to get him.
Oh
on.
yeah, he's just he's always been this way. He's always been a very positive person, and to the point of where it's a joke, where he would after a take, he'd go, "Cut, genius," and he would call everything genius, and it was like, really, all I did was open the locker. It was just stuff like that. He was super positive, and everybody seemed to have fun, and it was all self-contained in this crazy building where they used to shoot Baywatch.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the
That was
same
the other thing.
lot or something?
It was not a lot. It was a building in Mar Vista. It was super close to my house. That was another good thing. It's like I could roll out of bed and go down there, and it was fun.
The Baywatch thing sounds vaguely familiar. I feel like might have even come across that.
We used the same building as where they shot Baywatch. I mean, obviously not the exteriors, but
yeah.
And now I believe that it's called Broadway Gymnastics.
Okay.
Because I used to take my kids down there for gymnastics to the same building, and it was
really?
now and I don't know if it's still there, but anyway.
Were the interiors of Lawrence Junior High, that was a set?
That was a set, yeah.
That was a set.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we always wonder, but I don't know if you were ever around the house, but we always wonder if the inside of the actual house looked anything like the set.
The exterior of the house, at least for when that I remember working in front of, it changed. Like I know that we did a different. I believe we shot. Maybe not.
Because there's definitely the house is real.
Right. It's in like Cheviot Hills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cheviot
We've
Hills.
both visited the house before.
Oh, really? God, you guys are like the. That's how I would have been for the Brady Bunch house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, makes no sense at all.
Oh yeah, with the split ranch and the.
Yeah.
Well, there's no
And
second
the staircase.
floor.
Yeah, there's no
Look at
second
the
floor, yeah.
Yep.
What the hell?
But they're doing that renovation right now.
I know.
Where they're going to try to make the inside completely match
sense.
Oh, really?
the set.
That's
okay.
cool. That's cool.
Finally.
And they're somehow going to
Man.
give it a second floor. They said it's going to be some sort of magic. They're going to make it happen.
That's cool.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was in the Groundlings. So the Groundlings is a school. They have a school, and then you do well enough, you get through the levels. Blah blah blah. In the third level, I was in writing lab with Eve Plum.
Oh,
Who was Jan Brady.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a craziest thing.
That's
you walk
cool.
into class and meet everybody. She says, "Hi, I'm Eve." I'm like, "Yeah, you are. You're Marsha.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
that's awesome.
Amazing.
Speaking of the class, the hallway of the school, do you guys? I'm sure you saw it. Like where I rollerbladed down the hall.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
just a little backstory there. I'd never been on rollerblades before that week, and they said, "So we have you rollerblading in this one, and it's going to be kind of like a bunch of lasers, and you're going to have to get around them and all like that." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I've probably been on roller skates, definitely ice skates, but I haven't been on rollerblades. And I'm like, "Well, go try it out." And so I went down to the beach and I rented rollerblades and I'm like, got the hang of it. I'm like, "Okay, I guess I could do this on set without making a complete idiot out of myself." And the move was to go as fast as I could down the hall, stop at the doorway, hit a button, and then the lasers go on, and then I exit. I can't remember who was directing it. It may have been Sean. The director says, "Don't try to do it all in one move." And I'm like, I am going to show you how good I am on these rollerblades. And I am going to go as fast as I can. I'm going to come to a stop. So I do it. I stop. I've never fallen harder on my ass. I fell so hard, and it was one of those things where everybody, the whole crew in unison went, "Ooh!" It was louder than the fall. So somewhere on some, I don't know if they saved the bad takes, there's a real sweet take of me taking a shot to the old backside, folks.
There you go.
Anyway,
yeah, that episode's called After Hours.
There you go.
Someone actually mentioned that, and it's just funny. When we said that we were talking to you, someone brought that up, and it just made me remember just the jumbo-sized crinkle fries. Whenever for the longest time when I was a kid.
Those look so good.
Anytime I would get French fries somewhere, I would be like, "Oh, jumbo-sized crinkle fries! Like, is that a real thing?
Funny.
Like, I'm gonna get that at this fast food restaurant."
Yeah, nothing makes me crave French fries more than that episode, I think.
Yep.
Well, good, because we know now that French fries are very healthy for you.
Yes, I mean,
Yes, yeah.
And was that set like small? So like when you were skating around, was it really just like one or two hallways that you just had to keep going through?
Yeah, I think it was just one hall.
Yeah.
And like the beginning of, just one hall.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it. Yeah, they had the principal's office. I remember I was in there a couple times.
Right, yeah.
a couple classrooms.
At the time, just because it was also on Disney Channel, was the big rivalry was
Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I think I never watched, but I don't know if people have the same feeling, for that show as they do for Even Stevens.
Yeah. Lizzie McGuire I see as like a mainstream thing. Even Stevens, it's kind of more of like a cult following, and that's
right.
I think it's almost cooler that it's
a niche.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is exactly what this podcast is. I was like, is anyone even going to listen to this? But we've magically found people who care.
Wow,
so.
that's great. What was I going to say? That Disney is launching the
streaming service, right?
Streaming service, right?
Disney Plus.
So I'm wondering if they'll use Even Stevens as part of it. I know they're looking for new stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Where would you? I think maybe someone asked this. What would you have seen it look like if there was a fourth season?
The writing was on the wall of that the show is going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
So I started pursuing writing jobs, and the first one was Mad TV. As far as a fourth season goes, I have no idea. I mean, it seemed like they wrapped it up so well. The way they did it, I would imagine. I don't know. It probably just how they ended the third season.
Yeah,
that's the thing about these Disney Channel shows is that they
there was
only
the
go as
65
far as
episode limit.
Yeah. The real reason I knew that the show was, or at least I was, probably done after 3 seasons was both Shia and AJ. If you look at Influenza, they're taller than me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm like looking around. Oh no, I'm like in a.
And that was season 2.
Yeah, I mean it was. This is going to end pretty quick, but they shoot them back to back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we didn't have like long hiatuses. It was like we shot 3 seasons in like a year and a half, or 2 years. Yeah.
So you were doing Mad TV when Even Stevens was still on. It was probably already wrapped up at that point, I'm guessing.
No, not quite. I started at Mad TV in 2001, and Even Stevens was still going. In fact, they had a script that I was supposed to be in, but Mark and Dennis had a script.
The Phyllis Diller episode?
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
I don't know this.
Well, it was the pole vaulting episode, and Coach Tugnut was teaching Ren how to pole vault,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I took this writing job and I start now, and they're like, oh shoot, we have a script for you. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll work it out. And then they got Phyllis Diller comedy legend Phyllis Diller to play
Coach
the track.
Torrance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then when they did the movie, I talked to my head writer at Mad TV. I said, they got a part in this movie, and I was kind of doing this before, and so they let me out to do the movie. And also, what else in the movie? The Dream Vacation.
Yeah.
The song Dream Vacation was something that we wrote, that Coda and I wrote together.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're almost running out of time. So
all right.
I mean, we really only have like 2 questions left, really. So the first one was just, what was the last day on set like? Aside from showing that montage.
Well,
with
that was at the rap party. That was a couple of weeks later, like at Christmas or something like that. But it was. I don't know if I was there on the final day. I know that I was in the final shot, but I think they may have shot out of order.
Mm.
It was. We knew it was coming to an end, and I also knew that I'd be seeing everybody.
Right.
Like you never really. You always work together again, and like I said, I still work with John. I still work with Sean. I still see Tom Burkhart all the time. Everybody's available by phone. I've run into Tom Virtue a few times at the same place. There's a Bob's Big Boy in
Burbank.
Burbank, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And I've run into him twice in there, like just randomly, like, hey, like how often are you here? Because I don't come here that much. But he's doing great.
That would blow my mind if I went into Bob's Big Boy and saw both of you guys in there.
You're like, whoa,
it could happen.
Stepping into an episode.
That's right. But and also like Facebook.
Yeah.
It's like you're like in contact with these guys all the time.
Yeah.
So the last one is really just, what does the show mean to you, and like within your career, and how do you look back on it today?
I loved doing it. It was a blast. It's always fun to play a jackass. Like for me, like for my level of what however you place it, I think it was a pretty fun, pretty good gig, like money wise, like in the business. Mm-hmm. But it also led me to other things, I kind of like the writing aspect of it more, so I learned that there, as far as just working with Influenza and the whole production like that. So I learned in that way. I kind of figured out what I wanted to do next, and that was basically write and produce, and that's what I'm doing. So
cool.
You look back on it fondly, though, like you're.
Oh no, I loved it.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. It was a blast.
That's cool.
Like I said, the vibe was always good there, and I attribute that to Sean.
Yeah. Real quick, I'd regret if I didn't ask you, what was your experience like on Showgirls? It's one of my favorite movies.
Really?
Yeah, I love Showgirls. It's like my guilty pleasure.
Because it's kind of a joke,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
good,
it's not like a masterpiece, but
I'm really into dancing. My experience on Showgirls was I went to an audition, and basically the lines were super annoying, so I was as annoying as possible, and these casting directors were like, tone it down. And there was this weird guy sitting in the corner going, no, this is great. And it turned out that was Paul Verhoeven.
Oh, nice.
And then a month later, I got a phone call saying, you are playing the Cheetah Club loudmouth in Showgirls. You have to be at Raleigh Studios, where they recreated this strip club. And it was supposed to be for 2 days, but Paul Verhoeven was so far behind that it lasted 4 days. So I did this job, and it was a goof, and I figured it was bad, and I went to the cast and crew screening, and everybody was embarrassed. I'm like, yeah, this is, I didn't write it, so I didn't feel like, it was, there's anything wrong. But I ran into Elizabeth Berkley at Gary Shandling's memorial
Oh, wow.
I saw her there. I'm like, and like Gary Shandling was my first boss.
Yeah.
I worked as a PA on It's Gary Shandling show. I went up to her. I'm like, do you remember me? Because I have that scene with her. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't want to repeat it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And she says, and she like looks at me. She goes, I know your face. I know your face. And I said, we were in Showgirls. She's like, oh my God. Because, you're looking at somebody intently for maybe 10 minutes to shoot that little scene where you're actually like locked in. And it was just such a weird experience. Wow. So that's my full experience. The other thing that happened because of Showgirls is people throw parties where they watch Showgirls and then they stop the movie and say, what was going on there? And I went to one, but I got invited to this party like 12 years ago where it was a bunch of guys watching Showgirls, and then they stop it and go, so Kyle, what was going on there? I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. People are into this movie.
That's
I'm sure there's a podcast. There's probably a Showgirls podcast somewhere.
Somewhere. There's something for everybody.
Well,
that's
you guys
great.
can start one up after this.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you that, so I had to ask you something about Showgirls.
No, I understand. Big movie.
Yeah.
That is pretty much everything on our list for today. We were right on time.
Good.
Which is perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you.
Super fun.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Of course.
All right, cool. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too. Maybe we'll have a follow-up in a couple years when we're wrapping the podcast, maybe.
After the big reunion show.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, guys.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Yeah, so
well, that was
awesome. Our interview with Jim Wise.
Yeah.
Super exciting, super fun.
Great.
I knew that was going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Super chill guy.
He gave some good exclusives.
Yeah,
I think.
Fun stories.
Yeah. Sorry, I went off on Showgirls. I don't know if you've seen Showgirls, but it's kind of like...
No, actually. I mean, I'm familiar with the title, but I was like, okay, let you guys have this moment.
Yeah. I saw you sitting there. You're like glazed over. You're like, oh.
No. It was cool.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to rob you of that moment. You really needed to ask that question.
I appreciate it.
No, but yeah, a lot of fun stories that, we didn't know, I think. But I think it's interesting how much we do know about the show. Like, when he was like, oh, yeah, I was away for this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that was the Phyllis Diller thing. Like, so good. I love these cast and crew interviews so far. Like, it's so much fun.
They're so fun.
Can't wait to do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to be such a great time. And thank you to everyone who sent in questions. I'm sorry if I missed your handle to shout out or something. There were a lot of frequently asked questions that, everyone just sort of wanted to know. And a lot of you guys all asked similar questions. So just put them all out there. And then the ones that, were a little specific, made sure to give the little handle shout outs there. But
and a lot of them we had the question, and then other people were asking it too. We already asked too. So
a lot of us, great minds think alike. We all wanted to know some of the same stuff. Yeah, but yeah, we come up with our own questions, and then we ask you guys, and we put it all together.
So
this was so fun.
That was so much fun. You want to do some segments? MVP. What do you got? I have Jim Wise.
Oh God, Jim Wise. That's a good choice. I don't knock you for that choice. Yeah.
So.
Best quote? No, yeah.
Something about Showgirls, probably.
Oh, God. So much fun. So we'll see you guys next time. Of course, all the socials, as always, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the website, evenstevensranked.com. Send us an email, evenstevensranked@gmail.com. It's always awesome to hear from you guys. And
leave a review.
Yeah, definitely. Leave a review if you like what you're hearing. Feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. We just got another review recently, and it made our day. So nice.
That was cool.
It's just great. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.